What has to be the biggest lost media discovery this year would have to be the elusive Sesame Street episode 847. I remember first hearing about it all the way back in 2015, and seeing it found is kind of surreal. Not just because the episode was located, but because of the controversial way it was discovered. Our story begins on August 25th, 1939, with the theatrical release of The Wizard of Oz. The film was not only a commercial success, but a critical one as well. It's recognized as one of the greatest movies of all time, and many aspects still remain in popular culture to this day, one of which would be the film's main antagonist, the Wicked Witch of the West. Played by Margaret Hamilton herself, she scared quite a lot of kids, and that seemed to seep over to another appearance of hers, the aforementioned 847th episode of Sesame Street. It first aired on February 10th, 1976, and re-aired a couple other times, following the Wicked Witch's visit to the street. She flies overhead and loses her broom due to the wind. It ends up in the hands of David, who refuses to give it back, and she is unable to touch it due to a magical reason, I guess.
Oh, curses, curses! Oh, I forgot! I can't so much as lay a finger on that broom as long as somebody else is holding on to it! That's not fair! That's not fair!
She fucks off, vowing to return later in order to take back the broom. David then reminds the audience that if she was nicer, she would have the broom back. Clever dude. After a bunch of sketches, this plotline continues with David and Marie inside Hooper's store. The witch comes back and gets ignored, pissing her off even more. She makes it rain, causing everybody to evacuate. After some more sketches, we return with Big Bird being a nuisance and taking the broom, causing the witch to threaten him by saying she'll turn him into a feather duster.
And furthermore, I'll turn you into a basketball! Bounce! Bounce! Bounce in the basket! For you, my fine feather friend! How would you like to be turned into one of these?
Soon she meets Oscar, who gets a hard-on for her. She then disguises herself as an old lady and tried once again to get the damn broom back. During this confrontation, she finally learns to say please and gets it back. She leaves, with all but Big Bird happy about that fact, but soon they all bid her a farewell before dropping the broom again, right into David's hands. He exclaims,
I can't go through it again!
Sesame Street has been brought to you today by the letters I and Z.
This episode was extremely controversial, mainly due to its reception. You see, many angry parents sent complaints to Children's Television Workshop, the makers of Sesame Street. This is due to how frightened many children appeared to be after viewing the episode. They were terrified by the witch, who was described as cruel and scary. Additional test screenings were shown, which made this hard to analyze due to one particular difference. At these screenings, the kids were more fascinated by the witch due to her green skin. The children who were scared most likely saw the episode in black and white, as some families did not have access to color televisions. Despite this, it was still decided that the episode should be banned, to never be aired on television again. And that stayed true, with not only nobody seeing it on TV, but anywhere else. It was fully lost, with no hopes of ever seeing it again. That was until February 2019, when over 4,500 Sesame Street episodes were sent to the Library of Congress by the American Archive of Public Broadcasting. One of those episodes was confirmed to be 847. A source for the Wicked Witch episode was finally known. On November 24, 2019, it was finally shown off at the Museum of the Moving Image in New York City. Presented by Craig Shemin, the Jim Henson Legacy president, this was a lost and found event, where another lost media of Sesame Street was shown. That being Snuffy's Parents Get a Divorce, a segment that never aired due to negative test screenings. After this, various screenshots from the episode were leaked, being spread online pretty quickly. Then on May 14th, 2020, YouTuber MilkyFries103 uploaded the entire episode, though it was mirrored. It was taken down most likely due to copyright, but some re-uploads were made. The episode wouldn't be officially found until June 18th, 2022, when an anonymous Reddit user posted it to the Lost Media subreddit. This in itself was very controversial though, as it was most likely obtained illegally, as in they obtained it somehow through the American Archive of Public Broadcasting or the Library of Congress itself, but again, it's not officially known how. But Diecade and the Lost Media Wiki see fit that the links to the episode are not shared on that website to not stir up any legal trouble. This is a decision that I didn't initially agree with, but I kind of understand a bit more now. The episode was found, but the story might not be over yet. And if you're wondering, I actually wrote this script like the week it was found, and I just slightly updated it reading out in early August.
There are many video games out there that are ranked to be the least favourable of all time. The titles include such as Big Rigs, E.T. the video game, which Spielberg personally approved himself, so he must have thought it was semi-good, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, Plumbers Don't Wear Ties, and Ninja Breadman. But what is usually reserved for the #1 spot is the Superman game, also more widely known as Superman 64, due to the console that it was released on. This game is appallingly a dud, not helping its reputation that is within the shadows of being based on the critically acclaimed Superman animated series. With the amount of adventures and thrills that the show puts Superman through, you would presume that this would offer the developers a lot of exciting prospect for the game. But literally the majority of the game is flying through rings, picking up and stopping cars, and punching some helpless robots near towards the end. And the madman that's behind these rather repetitive tasks is Lex Luthor, who has been able to kidnap Lois Lane. Again, that bold genius. The graphics may be poor by today's standards, but you can't be too harsh on a late 90s video game. Although with the amount of game-breaking graphics, I don't think you'd find too many empathetic people over that. How did this pass the standards and being suitable for release? Did Lex Luthor made it himself to purposely spoil the legacy of Superman? Despite the questionable decisions that were made for this famous character, the game was to be ported to the first PlayStation. However, due to complications, this never happened. First of all, the console couldn't handle the free-roaming Metropolis map of the original, meaning that a completely new version of the game had to be made. Copyrighted issues emerged for when the developers, Blue Sky, lost the rights to Superman. For the next decade, not much emerged about the title, despite a prototype being discovered in the PlayStation Museum. Between 2007 and 2011, 2 7-minute clips of it was released. Another update on the story would emerge on January the 14th of 2014. On an Assembler Games forum, a user by the name Richard Evan Mandel provided the chat with various detailed photos of a copy, including its internal files. He had acquired the physical disc from an auction the previous year. Fascinated, other users pressed him for more information. In response, he asked for a sum of money in exchange for the copy. When that didn't happen, he destroyed the disc, breaking it into pieces. Richard then internally destroyed it by wiping any trace of it off his computer. But later that year, another user from that forum came forward saying that he also had another copy of the prototype, and showed footage to back up his claim. On October 7th of 2019, user Dizzy uploaded one of the prototypes to archive.org, which contained 9 levels. These concluded with the Brainiac centered level. Richard would return to the story later that year in November 28th of 2020, with a now deleted journal posted on DeviantArt. He explained his side, trying to elaborate as to why he wasn't in the wrong, and saying on how he made up for it. He was able to find the files using the iCloud data recovery service. He included a download link at the bottom of the message, which gave everybody the ability to finally play the long-lost PlayStation Superman game. 3 days later, it would be uploaded to archive.org, finally wrapping up the search. Now, is this version better than the original? Bit of a trick question that, as there wasn't necessarily much standards to begin with. Well, I would say that's up to the personal individual, so check out those games as they're now finally out there in the wild to enjoy.
The next 2 entries are actually topics that were discussed in my Lost Films video from a year ago, so I won't be going too much into detail. I advise watching that for more information, but here I intend to update these stories. First is Quantum Quest, a Cassini space adventure. One of the weirdest yet most intriguing pieces of lost media in recent years. It's a 2010 animated film that began production over a decade prior, which was helmed by Harry Clore and Dan St. Pierre. Much of the film used images taken from the Cassini-Huygens space probe, which was set to reach Saturn, but the mission was slow and had a hard time reaching its targets, which in turn delayed the film. But by 2008, enough data had been pulled to use it for a feature. Quantum Quest actually has an all-star cast, including Chris Pine, Amanda Peet, Mark Hamill, James Earl Jones, Samuel L. Jackson, Hayden Christensen, Tom Kenny, Casey Kasem, William Shatner, Neil Armstrong, and many, many more. Despite the high marketability and budget of $10 million, The film was rarely shown. In fact, only 2 known instances have had the film shown in its entirety. First were a few IMAX screenings that occurred in Asia sometime in late 2010, and the other was a showing of Quantum Quest at the Kentucky Science Center of all places. There it was screened from January 22nd, 2011 to June 10th, 2011. After that, it was never seen again. It grew deeper into obscurity until many started covering the topic in 2021, 10 years later. Some info was gathered, the plot as seen through 2 trailers, and a rumor that the film was briefly on Netflix in 2015. Then in late 2021, a man named Spencer Worth Davis began a podcast series called Finding Quantum Quest, which ran for 6 episodes. In it, he delved deeper into the mystery and was even able to score interviews with those who worked on the film and others involved with the Cassini space mission. This must have caught the attention of Giant Pictures, who must have had the rights to distribute Quantum Quest, so on May 10, 2022, it was officially released to various streaming services like Amazon Prime Video and Apple TV. And by viewing it, you can see why those involved wanted to hide the film. It's not horrible, but nothing special either. Just a slightly below average film with weird animation and editing, and a stellar voice cast who didn't bring it their all. The plot follows one of the son's protons, Dave, who sets off to stop the Void, a being who is a clear threat to the universe. And then a bunch of other characters are sort of there, I guess. Was it worth finding? Sort of.
No, take that.
No, it's yours.
Don't want it.
I don't want your brains
I'm
in me.
your glue.
It's monogrammed.
It's on me, 6 of you.
Originally set to release in 2017, Blazing Samurai was to be an animated film based loosely on the 1974 classic Blazing Saddles. That's surprising because that Mel Brooks film is one of the last things I would expect to be remade for kids, but I guess it can work with talking animals instead of racist cowboys. Mel is actually part of Blazing Samurai, even voicing the character Shogun. A bunch of other stars were to appear, like Michael Cera, Samuel L. Jackson, and Ricky Gervais as the villain. A really interesting choice for casting, I'll give them that. But the film itself really isn't too interesting until it comes to the troubling production. You see, this project was stuck in limbo for many years due to the animation company, Arc Studios, shutting down in 2016. Mass Animation was also involved in the story, which is iffy. They usually do crowdsourcing events in order to cut costs and pretty much make others do the work for them. The only compensation is maybe being able to win a prize. It's super scummy and could have been a reason why this film was delayed by so much. 2 years after it was supposed to be released, in late 2019, updates came out about the film's fate. Cinna Studios would take over animation, and new producers and directors were brought on board. It was even said that Blazing Samurai was at its first animatic stage around this time, but after 2020 no more further updates were given, besides a potential release date for sometime in 2021. Did it ever happen? No. But then, in January 2022, it was announced that Paramount Pictures had acquired the rights to the film and had it finished. While initially scheduled for July 2nd, 2022, it was changed to a week earlier on the 15th, and it actually took the spot for another animated film by Paramount, Under the Boardwalk. This is also being considered a Nickelodeon movie, which really is a sign of quality if you ask me. The name was additionally changed to the more bland-sounding Paws of Fury, The Legend of Hank. So yeah, the film is out in theaters now. Will I be seeing it? No. Unless it gets turned into a meme like Morbius, but nah.
Send a tweet to assemble the troops.
Who knew an evil army could go through so many beams?
The billion-dollar corporation of McDonald's has released quite a number of projects involving the most famous of characters. Perhaps the most ambitious out of all these projects came out during the late 1990s. A direct-to-video series called The Wacky Adventures of Ronald McDonald. They were a collaborative project with the animation studio Classici Chupo, well known for being responsible for making many classic Nickelodeon shows such as Rugrats and Rocket Power. A total of 6 40-minute episodes were made. The first one being a Halloween episode appropriately being released during October of 1998. Each episode would start out with a live-action introduction of Ronald McDonald and his new accompanying friend, Sunday the dog. Inside the animatronic suit was the short actor Vern Troyer, best known for playing Mini-Me in Austin Powers. Sunday was additionally voiced by D. Bradley Baker of Star Wars fame. Hey, the more you know.
I'm gonna have to switch to sugar-free dog food.
After the live-action introduction, Ronald and Sunday would hop down the ball pit, transitioning into their cartoon counterpart. Although strangely enough, after the first 3 episodes, Sunday would no longer be visually seen in the introductions. You would hear him off screen and he would still be prominently featured in the cartoon portions, but it would just be Ronald McDonald taking centre stage in the live action intro and outro. The main highlight of the tapes was the cartoon segments, featuring Ronald and his classic friends going on various adventures, such as out to sea to find Grimace Island, saving the Hamburglers from aliens, and my favourite one has to be the one that features the time machine.
Rumpled McDumpled.
Nice to meet you, Rumpled McDumpled. I'm Ronald McDonald.
You look like me, only worse. Ugh, ugh. No.
The first 5 episodes were sold at participating McDonald's stores, being consistently popular as they would regularly sell out, although the 6th and final episode of the series was only available online on the site cooltoons.com, where it sold from January the 30th of 2003, being released 2 years after the previous episode, and eventually resigning from the online store by March 6th of 2005. The title of the episode was The Legend of McDonaldland Loch, being inspired of the elusive Scotland animal, Nessie. It's quite ironic that a real-life mystery would transition over to the episode as the tape became quite elusive over the years, and became lost for a long period of time. But then, a decade later, a discovery was made on December 20th of 2014. An anonymous 4chan user on the comics and cartoon board said that they had a legitimate copy of the episode. The user and his older brother had a tape set of all 6 episodes, which could not be found elsewhere. To prove his legitimacy, he posted many pictures that he took off his television screen of the episode. Nothing else would came out of this though, despite many individuals offering a huge sum of money for a physical copy, up to $15,000 in fact, but all the user said was that they would eventually upload it to YouTube after ripping the tape to his PC. Despite this seemingly going nowhere, interest for the 40-minute special would ramp up. Throughout the month of June of 2015, Lost Media Wiki user Inkling Boy leaked various screenshots that he had of the episode. Soon 2 segments were uploaded by him, with a strange June 28th update warning everybody to not re-upload them. Over the next 2 months, various other clips were uploaded by random YouTube channels. Some of them were unlisted, but finally, on September 5th of 2015, the full episode was finally unofficially uploaded to the internet by user What a Cartoon. It has since been deleted, but various other re-uploads have emerged. The episode centers around Ronald, Grimace, Birdie, the Hamburglar, and sentient Chicken McNuggets. Sunday and a talking car going to seemingly Scotland. There, they stay at the castle of Sunday's cousin, who happens to be a Scottish Terrier. Birdie finds the Loch Ness Monster, and these 2 evil scientists make their own way to get rich. Then a kaiju battle ensues in this McDonaldland cartoon. You didn't suspect seeing that now, did ya? Before the robot is defeated.
Now, Simon!
Despite being the last episode, it's certainly not the least in action. But contrasting on this monster fight is that each episodes are musicals, with this program being no exception. Now, I don't like being too harsh on people's singing ability, but bless old Hamburglar, I'm sorry mate, but you haven't exactly got the voice of an angel.
Rescue me, 'cause that's what friends are for. Rescue me, it's not fun anymore.
James Lorenz, a small-time actor who appeared in various works such as RoboCop 3, Mr. Wonderful, Punch the Clock, and, most odd, Frankenhooker. But what has to be Lorenz's strangest role was also one he directed, known as Swirly. In it, he would star as a living ice cream cone named Mr. Softy, which involved putting on lots of makeup and prosthetics. He thought of the idea in film school, but began working on it in 1989. This was a 15-minute test film for a potential full-length movie. Lorenz brought on board producer Roy Frumks, writer Rocco Simonelli, and co-starred Tony Darrow and the at-the-time unknown David Caruso. It was presented as a drama with a sprinkle of comedy, pun intended. After completion, it was shown off at various studios who never took the pitch. It seemed that it would only be greenlit if the film was aimed more for kids and became a full-on comedy. James Lorenz did not like this whatsoever, and the Swirly project never went anywhere after that. Technically, this was never fully published, and it became lost media. Some would debate over its official release year, usually cited as 1990. This is mainly due to the inclusion of MC Hammer's Can't Touch This, which was released on January 13th, 1990. But for some stupid reason, IMDb lists the film as being released in the year 2000. That's clearly wrong and only added to the overall confusion. Nothing much came out about the film's publication or even discovery until 2016. YouTube user Art Damaged had a tape of Swirly, but it's unknown how he got it. All that was said was that it was a copy of a copy. He released it onto his YouTube channel on June 7th, 2016 with one major problem. You see, the film ended up being vertically stretched after being turned into a digital file, and once uploaded to YouTube it compressed back into the at the time standard 4:3 aspect ratio. That upload is all that remained until a Lost Media Wiki user named Notelu decided to fix the upload. On October 17th, 2016, he uploaded it to his channel in better condition. Both versions remain online. So is Swirly any good? Well, it's definitely creative, I'll tell you that. It's like a gangster film where a delicious looking lead character, Mr. Softy, tries to get his life back together after an argument with his roommate Tony.
To me, I mean, is that right? I mean, how would you like to be made out of ice cream? You don't know. I'm freezing constantly. I mean, maybe I want to go outside sometime and go to the beach, you know?
He approaches Don, the leader of an artificial ice cream mafia. Requesting a new job opportunity, he gets the shit beat out of him instead. After getting partially eaten by a group of kids and limping home, he tries to commit suicide by submerging himself in a hot bath. But Tony motivates him to help kill the mafia once and for all, and take back their business. This is all presented seriously, mind you, which makes it either ironically or unironically funny.
We're going back to natural.
The most bizarre part of this is the backstory of Mr. Softy, which is not explored in the film. He was the victim of the anti-miscarriage drug called nodropinium, which turned the child into whatever food the mother craves. So now Softy has to spend the rest of his life as an ice cream cone, who must always remain in cold temperatures. Sort of like Mr. Freeze, but lame and sadly not played by Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Jackass was a huge hit for MTV that premiered on October 1st of 2000, with 25 episodes and 3 seasons under its belt. The initial series didn't seem to last long though, but that was due to several controversies and various spin-offs that were to air throughout the rest of the 2000s. It follows the Jackass crew with such venerable members as Johnny Knoxville, Steve-O, Wee Man, Bad Margera, Chris Pontius, Ryan Dunn, and many more as they do some of the stupidest and silliest stunts ever. Since these were aired on television, some of the stunts were censored or not even shown, due to the limitations of the medium. But that would change with the upcoming Jackass movie, which was to be rated R and not hold back. This was to be the final send-off of the series, in one of the best ways ever. And to promote it, various specials would be released throughout 2002, up until the release date of October 25th. These included some behind-the-scenes specials and an MTV Cribs episode, but the first one scheduled never aired, initially set for the 3rd of February of 2002. It was called Jackass Too Hot for MTV. Yeah, the title may provide a clue as to why it never aired. It was to show more risque and lewd content from the show, which is saying a lot. Plus there was the case of US Senator Joseph Lederman persuaded MTV to air Jackass at a later time slot. Due to kids watching, many feared that kids would copy the antics in the show, causing more controversy. And a special poised to show even worse material. A list was gathered of all the possible content in this roughly 30-ish minute long episode, like that Dave England was to make a vomit omelette, Johnny Knoxville to pretend to be an escaped prisoner, and Steve-O getting a heart-shaped branding on his chest. What makes this case of lost media so interesting is that there's allegedly a rumoured uncensored version, meaning no censoring of swearing or nudity, just the pure and raw vulgarness of Jackass at its weirdest. This version was in a VHS tape that was circulated amongst the cast and crew. Many were begging to see the Too Hot for MTV special, with even petitions getting started just to get a mere glimmer. But this special would conclude in the most anticlimactic way ever, as it was simply uploaded to YouTube out of the blue. A channel by the name of Sloan TV Archive had the uncensored version in their possession, uploading it on the 15th of August in 2021, with the upload containing uncensored dick and balls fully displayed on YouTube. It comes to no surprise that it was swiftly removed, but it does occasionally get re-uploaded now and again, so for any Jackass fans, keep your eyes peeled.
Extreme ice skating!
What has to be the strangest piece of lost media ever is a TV show pilot made by none other than Tommy Wiseau. Yes, this holy incarnate decided to direct, produce, and act in another project outside his debut film, The Room. And if you know anything about that movie, you can tell that I'm being sarcastic about everything I've just said. The Room is easily the dumbest movie ever made, with it involving horrible acting,
I'm tired, I'm wasted, I love you, darling.
Come on, make love to me.
Oh.
lazy set designs, ridiculous dialogue,
I did not hit her. It's not true. It's bullshit. I did not hit her. I did not. Oh, hi, Mark.
Oh, hey, Johnny, what's up?
and cringeworthy sex scenes. This made the film really funny, but it wasn't intended to be so. Instead, Tommy wanted this to be a serious drama film involving his character Johnny having his fiancée cheat on him with his best friend. But now most perceive this masterpiece as an unintentional comedy. So what if Tommy was to make a comedy? Well, he first thought about this only a few years after The Room, to make a project about him back on the map. And that would become The Neighbors, which he would make over the course of 2007. In it, we followed the hijinks of a group of neighbors living in an apartment complex, as Charlie tries to hold everything together. And of course, Charlie is the character Tommy plays. The rest of the characters are played by just random unknown people who Wiseau most likely pulled off the street. This episode was really just a test and a way to put his vision of a television series all into one place. To develop it further, he enlisted the help of none other than Tim Heidecker and Eric Warheim, the self-titled stars of Adult Swim's Tim and Eric Awesome Show Great Job. He asked the duo if they could produce a full series of The Neighbors, which they initially accepted. Tommy would also appear on their show in Season 4 Episode 5, Tommy. In it, the duo had him direct the skit Pigman, which he changed. Mainly he replaced Tim and Eric with himself and Jessica Alba, who is really played by Sydney Steele. And it comes out hilarious.
Oink, 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 oink.
Anyways, after working on The Neighbors for a few years, Tim and Eric decided to cease involvement. In 2012, they said that Tommy wished for them to be involved more heavily in the making of the show, when they really wanted to handle the business side of things. So with just his team and a mostly new set of actors, Tommy completed a new pilot and 5 other episodes, 6 in total. The first 4 would air on Hulu on March 14, 2015, and the last 2 aired on May 26, 2015, and as you would expect, it's shit. Not just that, but many, like myself, agree that it's way worse than The Room ever could be. That in itself would be one hell of a feat, since you would assume Tommy would have improved his craft after almost a decade.
Somebody cut my internet, and I know who did it.
Who cut your internet?
You know.
Who did it?
The black guy cut it.
What black guy?
You know, the black guy, the rapper guy.
The rapper?
What's also more baffling is that it ended up being worse than the pilot as well, which is ludicrous. Speaking of the pilot, it was never released to the public, making it lost. All we had were a few short parts of it floating around the internet. The first is a bizarre trailer, and the other is what seems to be a rehearsal cut. Also, 2 of the actors in the pilot reprised their roles in the Hulu show, that being Brandon Kong and Jennifer Lieberman. Another cast member from the pilot was Monique Labar, who had a copy. On January 1st, 2018, she uploaded it to her YouTube channel for all to bask in its greatness. A few things to note in comparison to the complete show. First of all, it looks much better. I mean, the walls in the Hulu version look like part of a 90s Nickelodeon studio, and the lighting is better. What is weird though is the editing, as the fading out happens when the scene is still going on, but the plot is more engaging despite how ridiculous it all seems. Mainly just some affair stuff is going on within the apartment building. Tommy's acting here is really something else.
Don't touch this, yes?
What do I need to do to get a job?
Richard.
Interview. How many interviews have I been on?
Richard,
What?
let me explain something. Can you read this?
Yeah. Yes.
We're busy here.
Yeah,
okay?
we're busy.
I have something I need to say.
We don't have a time right now, you know, we have a meeting here.
Still though, I can't say I recommend either version of The Neighbors. I would just stick to rewatching The Room for the 20th time instead of watching these train wrecks. But honestly, it seems like Wiseau had a fun time making them, which is all that truly matters.
And there we go, that's the end, folks. I hope you've been enjoying listening to these little dialogue bits. Be sure to like and subscribe, ring the bell so you're notified for more wacky videos like this, and maybe give that Scribble lad a subscribe, you know, that'd be a nice little favour. I'm sure he'd really appreciate that. But also, of course, don't forget to subscribe here, Rob's Media, because I'm sure Rob would really appreciate the subs. Yeah. Anyway, that's the end of my script, so yeah. Take care and wear your seatbelt.